One of the cities that we've been wanting to focus on is Kahramanmaraş, and that is one of the hardest hit areas where President Erdogan yesterday said rescue missions are going to be focused. Well, those rescue missions are in many communities turning to recovery because, as I've mentioned, we're past the critical 72-hour window now. And in these cities and towns and villages are scenes that are very difficult to witness. I want to forewarn you before we get into Briar Stewart's report. She's part of our CBC News team covering the disasters, and she is there as they are beginning the very difficult task, emotionally fraught task of identifying the dead. Briar, welcome again this morning. Let's begin with where you are and if you would set the scene for us today.
Well, Heather, this is a city that is very much still in a state of chaos. I mean, it's hard for me to describe everything that's going on around me, so I want to show you some of it. I mean, you can see the destruction behind me where buildings have completely collapsed, large apartment buildings. And this, you can only see a part of it, but it stretches a couple of blocks down this road here. And you have people coming here, individuals, civilians climbing up on the rubble themselves. You have rescue crews, as you mentioned at this point. The thought is that this is really a recovery mission. That's why you see the heavy equipment operating there. And then, of course, behind me, you have people that are homeless, whose homes have either been destroyed or so damaged that they're unstable, they're at risk of collapse. They have nowhere to go. And so they are here. In many cases, they've had relatives in the apartment buildings and they're waiting for bodies to be recovered, but they have nowhere to go. So they're sitting here around fires, huddled in blankets, relying on donations, that kind of thing. And everywhere in the city right now, you have traffic jams, you have ambulances that are still trying to move around, and it is a chaotic scene. A short while ago, I was down at a sports center, and it has become a morgue. And I have to say, I've never been in an environment quite like that, where it was hard to figure out where we should stand because there was just so many bodies being brought in and out, covered in tarps, wrapped in blankets. Some were very small bundles that grieving relatives were carrying. And we spoke to some family members who said they have lost so many loved ones that they're actually having to go from morgue to pick up all of the relatives. You can only just imagine kind of like the pain and complete grief and upheaval these people are going through, and they're trying to go to all these different buildings to pick up their loved ones so they can bury them as soon as they can.
That is overwhelming, that much sadness and death, frankly, Briar. As you said, a lot of focus on recovery, but we haven't had the official word that the rescue effort has stopped. And indeed, as I was saying, from the president, as he toured the area where you are yesterday, the focus is to remain on rescue missions in cities like this. So what is the latest in terms of resources on the ground as the rescue work continues?
Well, we know that there is over 24,000 rescue crews here, many international teams, and that's kind of focused on the sites of destruction themselves. And then, of course, you have teams that have been brought in to help people with the daily necessities, distributing aid. And I'm joined here actually by two Canadians that we connected with here on the ground, Aisha and Jasmine, and they are from an organization called Islamic Relief. Both of these young ladies are out of Toronto. And Aisha, if I could just begin with you and ask you just what is some of the work that you're doing here on the ground to help people?
Our team here in Turkey right now has been doing emergency distributions across the region. We're distributing food, water, blankets, and anything we can get our hands on to all of the displaced populations you see around us.
And so what has it been like for you to be here and to witness just everything that's going on around you?
It's been heartbreaking, obviously, to say the least, but we're here to get the job done, and we hope we can make a difference.
And Jasmine, I want to ask you, I mean, you said you arrived on Monday. I just see how difficult things are right now. I can't even imagine how it was a couple of days ago. What really stands out for you over the last couple of days?
For me, it would be the amount of support that's coming in. Like, it's truly incredible. Even coming in the airport and the bus terminals, the amount of volunteers that are coming from all across the region, all across the world, to really come together and support. And that includes, people back home giving in donations. And it's, it's really, really heartwarming to see. And I know it means a lot to people. When you see things like mattresses and pillows under rubble, being able to give something like a warm meal, it means so much to just hang on to a little bit more glimmer of hope when there's so little left.
And when you're talking about, seeing those things, like fragments really of people's lives, right? Trapped in all of the debris. I mean, how do you as an aid worker kind of try to cope with that and manage your own well-being?
It's hard. It's definitely very hard. It's something that, the only thing that kind of gives you support is the fact that you are working towards making a difference. There's not much you can do beyond just go in and with your hands, but we can, talk to people back home and tell them to give and tell them to support where they can. And, like I said, like anything that we can give at this point is help, prayers and sending love and sending, your support. There's a lot of things back home, like giving monetary donations, and people are taking physical donations now as well, that I'm sure will make a huge world of a difference to people in need.
Well, I want to thank you both for your work here, and thank you for speaking with us, and I wish you the best in the days ahead. And really, Heather, this is a very long road. I mean, we are still in the immediate emergency phase, but there are hundreds of thousands of people now homeless. And this is a country, of course, that was dealing with a refugee crisis before this. There are over 3 million Syrians in Turkey, and now you have so many more that are homeless. And with it still being winter, the conditions are very tough for people that now have no place to live.